About a million years ago, I started listening to Rush Limbaugh, probably back when he was maybe not initially on the radio, because I think he was local before he did anything too far out there. But I started listening to him a long time ago, certainly more than 15 years ago, and probably longer back than that. And there were some things that he said that I considered were just downright wrong, and I still will maintain that I believe that that's true to this day. But the point is, if somebody heard that I listened to Rush Limbaugh and then decided that I had ascribed everything that he said as perfection, I would have to tell you that that's not the case. But the thing of it is, regardless that anyway, it's possible I did not hear a particular thing he said, and you have to realize that the responsibility for having said that thing and what it means and whether or not it's correct is not on me. And that's why I wanted to talk about the idea of not the author today on the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host, I'm Kurt, and today is Tuesday, the 8th of February of 2022. Welcome to everyone who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on Minds, minds.com, on my Facebook page, on Parler, on Rumble. I think I already said, on Parler, on locals.com, and there are a couple more. I think I could Gab and a couple other that I put my stuff on. But welcome aboard today, and thank you for coming. Today we're going to talk on the subject of not the author, and one thing that I kind of want to get into is this idea that author and authority come from the same root. But let me go ahead and get through my notes, and then we'll talk a little bit more about all of this. So here I go. Whatever you may think about what's written in any text, unless I wrote it and was expressing ideas unique to myself when doing so, you may rest assured I am not the author. That means likewise my perspective on what was said or written could be wrong, and you should be aware yours may be also. That also means even if you can argue me out of my position, or at least convince yourself you've done so, you still have to tangle with the author if it ever comes to that. It's important to realize another thing. With the exception of more or less one text, the Bible, and that's in my personal opinion, by the way, though a person may say something or a set of things, they may have authority over their statements, but that does not make them correct in what they say either. And I'll say again, for the Bible, that's my belief when I say that it is something that has that authority as well and is correct. Put another way, along the same lines as everything on the internet, that it may or may not be correct, you can make the same claim for just about any book, movie, or other mechanism for imparting information. Does it have to be correct? No, it doesn't. I don't care if the book or other work is 500 years old. Don't care. That doesn't make it correct. So the reality is, not only do you not have to trust me without verifying what I put out there, but you don't have to trust anyone, even texts like the Bible, if you choose not to do that, right? You don't have to do that. Of course, turnabout is fair play. The point being, just because you refuse to believe or accept something doesn't mean I have to blindly follow you any more than you have to follow me or anybody else. I don't have to follow your lead on that. Sorry, that's reality. For any given text or other work purporting to impart knowledge, the creator of the same is the author and authority where that information, wrong or right, is concerned. That means trying to tell them what they said is really not a reasonable thing unless you can show that's the case. It's not reasonable. The point of this is it's not reasonable to tell them you said this unless you can show them they did it. That's what I'm trying to get across there. Sorry, my notes got a little bit vague. I think if more people understood this, a lot of canceling that's currently happening would stop in its tracks. If you tell me I said this when I really said that, I have every right to call you out on misquoting or misattributing that thing to me. If you can show me I did put something out there that I don't believe was what I said or wrote, you should still understand that I can make errors and that I should be allowed to correct them as a rule. That goes for you too, obviously, right? So if you claim I said Joe Biden was a watermelon, you're going to have to be quite clear where I said that. If I did say it, unless I tell you I was joking, it was said in jest, right? It behooves you to allow me to correct what I said. But if I said I was joking, that it was a joke, then at that point all bets are off. I'm sorry, that's just the way of things. It may have been in bad taste even, but it was still a joke. For people who are no longer with us, even those who still are though, you may find, if you're willing to do the research, they've already corrected things. At that point, bringing up the mistakes of a person's past may not be a clever thing to do. The Koreans used to have a way of looking at things where when you did a bad thing, they were forevermore allowed to do that thing to you. No joke. You cursed at them, they were able to curse at you from that point on. I'm not suggesting that's how things ought to be. I'm not. That said, you should know when someone turns the fire hose on you, if you've done that, you shouldn't be too surprised. All of this considered, if you don't like what a book, movie, piece of music, or whatever says, please don't blame me if I'm not its author and therefore the authority with regard to it. Unless I place myself in a position of authority with regard to that, and by the way, the author may look at my doing so and say, nope, not a thing. If you're questioning what I'm saying here, it is this. Recently, there's been a big to-do about some things that a given individual, namely, and again, I hate using names, Joe Rogan, has said about when using a term, a derogatory term, or at least one that's considered derogatory, and I think probably it is in just about every case I'm aware, that is referred to variously as the N-word and many other things. My answer to that is, if you take Joe out of context and you say, dude, you said this, you may be right in the idea that he said a word that he really should never have said. I get that. But when he's quoting somebody else, he's not the authority. He is not the author. He is quoting someone else. And if he's doing that for the purpose of showing you that that was wrong, then it's kind of strange to me that you think that it's reasonable to cancel him on that basis, or anybody else for that matter. Now, I agree with folks who are saying that what's actually going on there is people are looking for ways to get rid of Mr. Rogan, and they're working to do exactly that. I get it, I understand it, and that's why that bothers me a lot less than you might think it would. Because I recognize that when Mr. Rogan said what he did, he wasn't necessarily using the terms that he was using in ways where he was actually intending or attempting to be derogatory with them. I had to think what I was saying there. Sorry about that. The point I'm making here is simple. It's really simple. If somebody uses the N-word and they use it to show what a horrible thing it is for people to say that, or what horrible people there are out there who are willing to use that word, I don't really agree with them using it, and I would probably try to censor it myself in my current speech. But I have to tell you something. If you found something in the past that where I used that, I would have, the best that I could tell you is, I'm sorry I used the word, but I pretty much promise you that you will never find anything that in context is me saying that people of other cultures are horrible people as a result of the fact that they are the quote N-word or something like that. I'm sorry, we're not doing that. That's just not a thing, and it's not ever a thing that I think I've ever done. I talk about a neighbor that I had once upon a time who used that word because to him it didn't mean anything. Well, that's not exactly true. It meant something, but it didn't mean what it means to you. He was a backwoods type of fella, and it doesn't mean what it meant to you. That said, I still was shocked when he used the term, and that was when I was 5 or 6 years old. It was a long time ago. Point of all of this, though, is look, please do not try and make me the one responsible for something that I'm not responsible for. And that goes with Joe Rogan, and that goes with anybody. That goes with Barack Obama, or I don't care who it is. Please don't make them try to make them responsible for things that they were trying to count reprehensible, for example. Don't do that. That's not an okay thing to do. All right, I need to go ahead and wrap this up. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I am your host. I'm Kurt. That would be me. And today is Tuesday, the 8th of February of 2022. That means tomorrow will be Wednesday, the middle of the week, the 9th of February of 2022. Thank you. welcome as well. But thank you for everyone who's been here on Rumble, on the podcast, on YouTube, on BitChute, on CloudHub, on minds.com, on my Facebook page, on Parler, on Gab, on Locals if you happen to catch me there, wherever it is that you happen to catch me. Thank you for coming along today. Remember that Rumble is my preferred platform. You can give me a boxing glove or a Rumble on Rumble. You can also give me a plus for a positive feedback or a minus for a negative one. You can do that on any platform, by the way, that offers such feedbacks, and I will do my best to pay attention to whatever it is that you have done there. That includes commenting. If you have the ability to comment, I will try and look at your comments, and if I feel it's reasonable, I'll respond. But if I don't, I'll at least look at it and see what I can, what conclusion I come to. And if it's rubbish, of course, I'll delete it. But only if it's like advertisements or whatever. If it's in context with the thing that I'm talking about, I'm absolutely willing to leave it there so that others can see it, comment, do whatever they feel is appropriate. Subject for today has been not the author, and tomorrow we're going to talk about the treatment of workers. And I have a feeling there are a lot of people who are confused as to how badly or well workers, particularly in places like the United States, are being treated. I really think that they misunderstand what's going on there, and that they are counting people abused who, in some senses, you could make that argument, but not in any real meaningful way. I think we've gotten a little soft as far as that's concerned, but I'll talk a little more on that tomorrow. Hope you're having a good day today and that everything is going well for you, and hopefully we will see you again on Wednesday's edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This podcast was recorded on Tuesday, February the 8th of 2022. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that, and you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.